Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news alright. Falcons fans, buckle up because the latest moves from Atlanta are signaling some serious intentions ahead of the upcoming NFL season. The team is making strategic roster adjustments, and what they're doing now could have long-lasting implications for how competitive they'll be in 2024. We've seen a couple of moves that really tell us a lot about the Falcons' plans, especially when it comes to balancing their defensive line depth and their receiver core. What's fascinating is how these moves also reflect the team's confidence in certain players, the adjustments they're willing to make, and the overall direction head coach Arthur Smith and his staff seem to be heading. Recently, the Falcons made a notable move by signing a defensive lineman from the Carolina Panthers practice squad, Sam Roberts. Now, Roberts is not a household name just yet, but for those of you who follow the finer details of NFL roster moves, this is a player with some potential. Signed just before the season kicks off, Roberts brings a certain versatility to the Falcons' defensive line. He's a former Patriots late-round pick, a guy who spent last year on the Panthers' practice squad, and has already appeared in 17 games in his NFL career, including one start. His stats might not blow you away at first glance, 8 tackles so far in his career, but what stands out is his recent performance in 2024, where he's been recognized as a solid run defender, a trait that the Falcons desperately need to shore up their front against the run game. Now, this move is particularly interesting because it signals that Atlanta is looking to bolster their defensive line depth, especially along the interior. The team's defense in recent years has shown flashes of brilliance, but against the run, they've sometimes struggled. Roberts, with his last 2 seasons in the league, has shown a knack for holding his ground and making key tackles in the trenches. His experience, especially playing against tough offensive lines in the NFC South, could prove invaluable. Moreover, Roberts' presence on the roster doesn't necessarily mean he'll be active for Sunday's game against the Buccaneers, but it's clear the Falcons want to keep him as an option for immediate help if needed. At the same time, the Falcons made a significant move on the offensive side of the ball, which might come as a surprise given the recent focus on their defense. They've released wide receiver David Sills V, who was their 7th receiver after the final cuts. Now, Sills, who had a pretty solid preseason, played a few snaps early in preseason games and looked promising, especially in terms of his route running and catching ability. But in the NFL, roster spots are tight, and with the team's current depth at receiver, the Falcons decided to part ways with him, at least temporarily. The good news is that Sills is expected to land on the practice squad quickly, and Atlanta clearly saw enough in him during the preseason to keep him in the fold. This move is strategic because it frees up a spot on the active roster, allowing the Falcons to keep 6 receivers for now, enough to manage game day needs even if Darnell Mooney, who's listed as a game-time decision, doesn't play this Sunday. The team has options, including elevating Dylan Drummond, Chris Blair, or Nick Nash from the practice squad if necessary. It's a smart way to keep flexibility, especially with the season opener looming and the team wanting to ensure they're prepared for all scenarios. Now, let's talk a little about Darnell Mooney, because his status is crucial for the Falcons' offensive plans. Coming into this season, Mooney was expected to be a key weapon for quarterback Desmond Ridder and the passing game, providing speed and route-running ability that can stretch defenses. The fact that he's listed as a game-time decision adds a little suspense, but the team is optimistic about his availability. If Mooney does suit up, it would be a huge boost for Atlanta's offense, giving Ridder a reliable target in crucial situations. If he doesn't go, the Falcons will lean on their other receivers, and that's where the depth they've built in the offseason really comes into play. Now, back to Roberts for a second because his background is quite intriguing. He spent some time with New England, which is interesting because Bill Belichick's system is known for developing versatile defensive linemen. His stint with the Patriots might have helped him develop a certain toughness, and understanding of complex schemes. Last year, with the Panthers, he showed flashes of promise, especially as a run defender, which the Falcons desperately need to improve against the ground attack of divisional rivals like the Bucs and Saints. His ability to hold the line of scrimmage and contribute to stopping the run could be exactly what Atlanta's defense needs to elevate their overall performance. But let's not forget that Roberts' NFL journey has been a bit of a roller coaster. He was a late-round pick, and like many players in that position, he's had to grind and prove himself at every step. The fact that he's in Atlanta now, with a real shot to make an impact, shows how much the Falcons value players who can contribute immediately and add depth to their defensive line. It's a move that might not grab headlines, but for Falcons fans paying close attention, it signals a team that's serious about improving its run defense and making sure they're ready for the physical battles to come. On the offensive side, the decision to cut Sills might seem minor in the grand scheme of things, but it's a reflection of how Atlanta's coaching staff is carefully managing their roster. They're looking for players who can step in at a moment's notice, and Sills showed enough during the preseason to keep hope alive for him to rejoin the practice squad. The team's receivers, especially with the uncertainty around Mooney's status, need to be ready to step up. That's why the Falcons have options like Dylan Drummond, Chris Blair, and Nick Nash, all of whom could be elevated if the need arises. This kind of roster flexibility is crucial when you're trying to build a team that's both competitive and adaptable, especially in a division as tough as the NFC South. Now, looking ahead to this weekend's game against the Buccaneers, there's a lot of anticipation. The Bucs have a solid defense and a dynamic offense led by their quarterback, Baker Mayfield, and a talented group of skill position players. For Atlanta, this game is a real statement opportunity. They want to start the season strong, and these roster moves are a clear indication that the coaching staff is making sure they have all hands on deck. Whether it's Roberts providing depth along the defensive line or the receivers stepping up in the absence of Mooney, the Falcons are clearly preparing for a tough fight. And let's not forget the bigger picture here. This is all part of a larger strategy to keep Atlanta competitive and potentially push for a playoff spot. The NFC South is always unpredictable, with teams capable of surprising everyone, but the Falcons are establishing a foundation that could make them a tough out this season. The depth along the defensive line, the versatile options at receiver, and the leadership of head coach Arthur Smith all point to a team that's hungry for success. They've been building a culture of resilience and adaptability, and these roster moves are just the latest signs of that ongoing process. So, Falcons fans, as we gear up for this season, it's important to keep an eye on how these roster decisions play out. Roberts could be a key piece along the defensive front, especially if he can replicate the form that made him a valuable run defender last year. Meanwhile, the receivers will be tested early, and it'll be interesting to see how the team manages Mooney's status if he's not ready for Week 1. The coaching staff's ability to adapt and utilize their depth will be crucial in the coming weeks, and this is just the beginning of what promises to be an exciting season for Atlanta. And now, Atlanta Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on these moves? Do you think Roberts can make a real impact along the defensive line? Are you confident in the receivers stepping up if Mooney doesn't play? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Atlanta Falcons. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates. So stay tuned for the latest Atlanta Falcons news, because this season is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing in recent memory, and we're here to bring you every detail, every move, and every story that could define the Falcons' path to glory.